Welcome, everyone. Really happy to have you here tonight, and whenever you're going to be watching this recording. Um, we love the opportunity to introduce you to the World Creativity and Innovation Week, and have with us today the American Creativity Association, Austin Global with Phyllis Blees. We have the Canadian Network of Imagination and Creativity with Michael Wilson and Peter Gamwell. And then you've got the National Creativity Network represented with Gene Hendrickson and Haley Simons. So what a group you got here tonight to talk about borderless ideas. And I'll turn it back to Jim and to Bethany.
Wonderful to have you all here. I've been kind of dreading this. I have such respect for your organizations, and I am in awe of the things you do and your history. And as much as George has tried to make this about World Creativity and Innovation Week and World Creativity and Innovation Day, which is actually two different organizations, I'm really interested in hearing more about all of us. And so we're going to go last.
Perfect.
Why don't we begin with the introductions of what is NCN?
It's a perfect question you ask. I jotted in a couple notes, so I make sure that we cover it well. So the National Creativity Network, our mission says, engages, connects, informs, promotes, and counsels cross-sector stakeholders who skillfully use imagination, creativity, and innovation to foster vibrant and flourishing individuals, institutions, and communities across North America. So we were inspired and led in the beginning by Sir Ken Robinson and convened by the great Susan McCalmont of Oklahoma. We were founded in 2010 by an outstanding group of thinkers and practitioners who value imagination, creativity, and innovation. And when I started to think about what it is we have done and do, I talked to myself about connecting people and organizations in every domain of humanity, not just the arts. You know, the challenge when you start something like this, I think you all know, is when you say creativity, people start to pigeonhole things as just the arts. But that's never been what NCN's been about. In fact, Sir Ken used to tell me if I said arts and creativity, I owed him a quarter. And I almost went broke. But anyway, we did in-person events very much opportunistically by inserting ourselves into other people's in-person events. Through our inaugural executive director and others on our board, we've seen written thought pieces and internet-based webinar kinds of events. Most people know these days about the NCN articles of interest, and I will drop the link to those into the chat as well as the NCN website. So I think that covers who we are at the moment. And as I pointed out earlier, Gene Hendrickson, Haley Simons, and Peter Gamwell, who's a double agent, are members of the NCN board.
Wonderful, thank you. Why don't we next go to the Canadian Network for Imagination and Creativity, CNIC.
So I'll start us off, and then I'll turn things over to Peter, who will contradict everything I said, and then you'll have a double-sided view of what we're about. First of all, I have to congratulate the company I keep this evening. I'm deeply impressed and very honored to feel that anything that I do that I'm involved with would be considered worthy of being in a forum of discussion with all of you. I'm reminded, of course, that the whole idea of a world network of creativity was begun originally by a Canadian from Toronto. Her name is Marcy Siegel. And I know her from some of the work that we have done at the CNIC, which is actually a very young organization that really is only 3 years old. It all started with my happening to be at a conference in Fredericton, New Brunswick, about creativity, and I realized that when I'm from an arts background myself, as many people in creativity originally are, And I thought this was an arts conference, but it was a conference about creativity across all sectors of society. And it was hosted by a lady named Dr. Mary Blatherwick, who is a professor of visual arts and cultural studies at the University of New Brunswick. And she chaired the conference and has founded an organization called the Atlantic Center for Creativity, which I knew nothing about. And when I observed that this conference was about creativity as a pulse of human endeavor in any field, I said to Mary, you can't just be local in the Atlantic, you have to go national. Of course, some of you are laughing. When I mean national, I mean Canada. And the entire population of Canada is smaller than California. Anyway, so we decided, convinced her, and that this was a good idea. And so it started off with the two of us trying to identify who else should be part of this national network. And I observed that there was a International Center of Imagination at Simon Fraser University in Vancouver. And I was aware of some people that were involved with that. And so we invited some people there to join us. And of course, I'm from Ottawa, and unfortunately, so is Peter. So in order to maintain any relationship with Peter, I had to make sure that I invited him. But I couldn't stop doing so because he had an international profile in the field in any case, and I couldn't avoid it. So Peter has been with us, along with a couple of other people from Ottawa. And we've got somebody from Toronto and a number of other people from the Maritimes. So in that sense, we have a national organization, and we have a reach now of, I don't know, 500 or 600 regular people. And of course, they're not only from Canada, but all over the United States and Australia and Brazil, Argentina, the UK, and other parts of Europe. So that's just what happens in any organization that's online internationally. And we probably try to do many of the things that all of you try to do. I think the only thing that we do that is perhaps unique is we have a monthly online meeting that we call an idea jam. And that's a word I stole from Peter. And it's an informal conversation on a topic, usually chaired by an individual who is either a member of the steering committee or a guest of one of those members. And we do this once a month, and we try to make it as informal as possible. I chaired the last one, and I began it with, let's have a fireside chat, get the marshmallows ready, things of that nature. And we wanted to make it as relaxed a conversation as we could about anybody who wanted to contribute about the field. And we've since branched off from there to a live and in-person event that we're planning to do for April. And we'll talk more about that when we get to how we can fuse or contribute to the WCIW efforts. I'll leave it at there and ask Peter to fill in the gaping holes I left in the narrative. Peter.
No, I think you've captured it, Michael. Perhaps I'll chip in later when we start to talk about the actual event coming up. I can see people starting to drift off as a result of your soliloquy, so I think we let them speak.
Thanks a lot, Peter. I like you too.
Am I going to have to open up another room for you two?
No, don't put us in the same room, separate rooms.
So let's go with the American Creativity Association out of Austin.
Well, let's see. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. I am here representing quite a few people in quite a few years. I'm Phyllis Blees, and up until recently, I have anchored the chair of president of the National American Creativity Association. That was started in 1987, and it was the brainchild of two interest groups. One were the leaders of corporate R&D departments like DuPont, and they somehow started having conversations with the leaders in the US that we called the gifted and talented education teachers departments, pretty much at the college level. And at that level, they were teaching the teachers that went out into the K-12 education. And someone brought those two interest groups together. And Joyce Juntoon served as the first executive director. She was from St. Paul, Minnesota, so kind of pretty close up there to Canada. And the organization had a fairly powerful start. For one reason, it was more of a trade association at the time rather than individual public members joining. So you would see school districts and corporate R&D departments coming together and having representation in the room, on the board, and at the annual meetings. And then there were annual conferences with a Journal of Creativity. And it was fairly professionally and powerfully run. It was not just US based, but largely so. And over the years, there was some discussion about, of course, on and off changing that name American. In around 2000, I flew to St. Paul and attended one of the national meetings. And I then flew back to Austin, Texas, and started one of the first chapters of the ACA. And then I became a director of chapter development, and I was facilitating 16 chapter leaders in 16 different countries. And then there were about 20 from different cities in the United States, Canada, and South America and Mexico. So I spent a robust amount of time helping people organize and become chapters. In 2019, I think it was, that's when I stepped onto the national board as president. I did my thing for 3 years. Then I stepped back to the Austin chapter, which as for the last 10 years has taken on a larger footprint. We call ourselves Austin Global because our board brought in global members, and we have had a global outreach. So today I sit here straddling both the National Association, which is still in a role of development, whereas the Austin Global chapter is in a much more outreach position and outreach role. And I'm here to serve what wants to happen. Oh, well, I should mention that in the last 2 years, we've launched a show with a kind of a public broadcasting system affiliate called Think Tech Hawaii, coming out of Hawaii, where I went to law school, and I have a fairly large law print there, or footprint, I guess, law print. And
I like law print. That's very
yeah,
nice.
well, you know,
Yeah.
that's interesting. I wanted to be with that for a minute. And we have 2 years under our belt now of bi-weekly shows called The Creative Life. Haley Simon is on this call, and I had 2 shows dedicated to Haley's work and background. And that's very vibrant, and I would like to contribute that resource to the people who come in to support the Week of Creativity and Innovation. And with that, I will leave it to the rest of you.
Thank you so much. So I guess this is about World Creativity and Innovation Weekend, World Creativity and Innovation Day, which, as was previously mentioned, was founded in Canada in 2001 as World Creativity and Innovation Day. And it was Marcy Siegel's grassroots effort to essentially save the planet through creativity and innovation. And it was a beautiful international effort. And as Marcy explained it to me, she thought of it very much like Mother's Day. Celebrate if you want, celebrate the way you want. Not everybody celebrates, but a lot of people should and do. And several years later, 2007, she added World Creativity and Innovation Week. Now, World Creativity Innovation Day is beautifully set as the day before Earth Day. And World Creativity and Innovation Week begins on Leonardo da Vinci's birthday, April 15th, and goes and ends on World Creativity Innovation Day. In 2017, I think one of her major dreams came true when the United Nations declared April 21st as an International Day of Observation and recognized by the United Nations. I first found out about World Creativity and Innovation Week as a professor at Miami University in Oxford, Ohio. I teach creativity. I've taught, created and taught many classes in creativity. And the timing at the end of April was really nice as a project for my class. What a wonderful thing. Do something, celebrate creativity. And so in 2015, I did. And in 2016, we had a student organization who decided to create a bigger celebration. And Marcy actually came in on Zoom or whatever the reigning public dialogue was at the time and talked with the students and inspired them. And that was wonderful. So it got to be 2019, and I found out that Marcy was planning to walk away from World Creativity. She had done an amazing job and a magnificent job after 18 years of running the world from her living room. And I said, I would like to keep it going. I value your vision and your mission, and I believe that the students of Miami University can continue on in your honor. And so we moved the headquarters from Canada to the cornfields of Ohio, and we have been creating a foundation, a background, mostly dedicated by the students. And we have several hundred students who are involved every year because we have students who are doing all kinds of things. We have students studying journalism. Would you like to write about it? We have students studying marketing. Would you like to market it? We have students studying technology. Would you like to create, do the back end, the technology, those kinds of things? So we have the students doing this. We also, because we have students interested in international kinds of things, have a student team that is now connecting with and keeping in touch with international celebrants. And last year, we got to 160 countries. And there's only 190, what are we going to say, 195. So we're oftentimes wondering how many we should claim. But I think we've gotten to the point where we are going to stop as we grow, and we don't want to outgrow it all. But we are now creating the foundation of World Creativity Innovation Week with a very clear statement. We want to be the world's resource. We are nonprofit. We're actually non-financial. There is no money. Everybody in World Creativity does this for the love of creativity. And we see our job as connecting the world. This is why we are so thrilled to have your organizations here, because our job is to make sure that every man, woman, and child around the world knows about the work that you all do. We call our mission CCR. We are the gathering place to talk about celebrations, no matter when during the year they are, about connecting people, because we want to be able to connect everybody. We are non-denominational in which organization you join, and we are also want to be the resource hub. And so we are soon to roll out the brand new website for World Creativity and Innovation Week. We are over the moon excited about this. and it's not live yet, so you're getting a preview. But this is it, where we bring the world together. World Creativity and Innovation Week, which is now 129 days away, and World Creativity and Innovation Day, 135 days away. One everyday creativity is what World Creativity is about. And again, every man, woman, and child, no matter what they do. And again, we're not the arts. We are the arts, and we are in everything you do, because the most important thing that we want people to create is their lives. And you can use creativity with your family, at your work, in your education. World Creativity and Innovation Day is much more about the 17 Sustainable Development Goals from the United Nations. Here are the 160 countries that have celebrated and are celebrating. They celebrated last year. And these links will take you to all the celebrations that will be across the world throughout the year. And then down at the bottom, we have Creative Connections, where we want to bring people together. We want to say, who would you like to connect with? And we had a hospital doing innovative work in healthcare, and we connected them with a hospital in Africa to share their innovations to see if they could support. We also have Creative Resources, which is, what would you like to know? What would you like to learn more about? And here it is. Where's my there it is.
There you
Here's our resource page. And so if you want articles, if you want books, if you want videos and podcasts, again, this is not live. So we're just getting getting it all set. And this is where we would like to connect with NCN, and again, properly credited, to share searchable the wonderful things that you all find with an international audience. This is where we are. This is World Creativity Innovation Week and World Creativity Innovation Day. And it is our mission to support you all and to tell the world about the wonderful work you do. How's that for a start?
That sets the table.
Mhm.
Sets the table. Good, good, good. So since there are so few of us, what is it that you'd like to talk about? What is it that you would like to hear about?
Well, Peter, would you and I like to start us off and talk about Ottawa and the connection maybe during WCIW week and day? Should we do that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we can do that. Yeah.
Okay,
we can
so
start it off, yeah.
I'll start off and Peter will contradict everything I say. So up until now, most of what we've done has all been online. And because of the pandemic and other restrictions, we're a national organization that physically it finds it very challenging to get together. It's a big country, and we have people on both sides of the country involved. And we actually got lucky. Last year, there was a national conference of the Canadian Society for Education Through Art, which happened to have a conference in Ottawa. And so a couple of people who are artists got to present workshops, and so their universities or somebody else paid for their way to come to Ottawa. And Peter and I actually got to meet some of these people that we've been seeing online for 3 years, and that was a very interesting experience to get to know people online and then eventually to meet them. It was a very interesting and deepening experience, and also reminded us that Zoom platforms or any online platform is very limiting in order to reach a level of intimacy with anybody, because really what you're all looking at here this evening is two-dimensional shapes in a little square. It's almost as if we're all looking at each other in jail cells. So one time, one of the members of NCI decided that we would see if we could have a live event of some kind in Ottawa. We felt free of the pandemic now, and it was a possibility to have a live event. And so we wanted to do that. And we knew that we also wanted it to be open to anybody in the world, but essentially local, because it was going to happen in Ottawa. And for some of you here, that's a fair distance away. So we decided to do that. And we discovered a number of interesting points about looking at an overall view of creativity and narrowing it down to a particular example of in a local community. And we were looking at the concept of social innovation. And so we thought we'd have an expose of one such example of a community hub related to social innovation. And it has a very personal story about it. And so we're making plans to do this, and it happens to be on Friday night, April the 19th, and Saturday all day, April the 20th, during your week. So we thought that, okay, we're local, but maybe we can connect universally in some other way. And so with that in mind, I'll turn you over to Peter now again, and he's going to explain the particular connection he has in mind. Peter.
Thanks, Michael. I'll just frame this. I'll try and give the elevator speech. So when I was a superintendent with the Ottawa Carleton District School Board for 16 years, I led a creativity movement there, which was actually very provocative at the beginning, but grew over that 15 years to become, I think, Michael, it wouldn't be immodest to say it became a very powerful movement. And the way we did it was this: we created 7 or 8 events each year, and all of them were connected. It was the events were basically to flip totally how education and learning and leadership were defined and manifested. And it started with the idea that there are seeds of brilliance within absolutely everybody. The school system doesn't believe that, but we wanted to flip that and imagine, what if we did believe that? What would education look like? So these 7 or 8 events each year, they were filled with creative initiatives. They were open to anybody in the community who wanted to come, and they were foundationally inclusive. And at every single one of them, we had creative initiatives from around the district and the community on display. So when you walked into one of these events, you didn't have to wonder what it was about. It was about the creativity that resides in every aspect of human endeavor. So when we started to think about what this event would look like, the live event for the CNIC, we were looking for a location, and we'd sort of settled on one. And then something from my history told me, go look at the old Rideau High School in Ottawa, which is located in the most economically depressed area. And 5-6 years ago, Michael, because the community didn't have voice, the school district closed it down. Well, what they didn't anticipate happening is that the local communities have now taken over that building. So you have, I think they represent the 13 most challenged communities in that area of Ottawa. So now they have all rented space in this place. So you have Indigenous art, you have food banks, you have women's shelters, you have African societies, and the place has come to life with creative endeavor, where creative endeavor really had no right to exist. So when I walked in there to look around, I knew this was our location. So that's where it's going to be. So when people walk into that building on the Saturday morning, there'll be no speeches, there'll be no, it would be a totally unconventional convention. And what we have is we're going to have 10 or 12 human libraries, stories of the remarkable, stories where people are making the extraordinary happen to make the world a better place, in spite of the fact that they have no right to because of the difficulties that they're challenged. So people will walk into that. They will spend an hour and 15 minutes talking to all of these different people from 5 years old to 105 years old. And that will spark the rest of the day. Michael, take over.
Well, just on the topic of, Peter mentioned a food bank. It's food that's actually grown there. They have their own greenhouse and a garden, and so they go from seat to table, in providing free food to people of the local community that's actually made there by people who themselves come from that deprived community, and so it provides an opportunity for many people to see their lives as being something other than mere subsistence, not only in developing interest groups of their own particular community, but across the hall, they discover other communities. The Indigenous welcoming committee for senior citizens meets people who are doing other things, representing different nationalities and different interest groups. We had the birthplace of an organization called Orchestra, which is an orchestra made up of the Venezuelan revolutionary idea of providing poor people in Venezuelan villages with opportunities to play musical instruments, and the instruments are paid for by somebody else, and the music lessons, and so you have children all over Venezuela developing this. And so we've decided we have one of those in Ottawa, and it was originally housed in this center. And so we're going to have some kids from that particular group play for us as part of that opening ceremony in the foyer of the building. The school itself, architecturally, would be like any mid-1950s style high school built anywhere in North America. Its singular architectural point is that it's anonymous, and so you would all be able to visualize what the building actually looked like, completely nondescript. As soon as you go in the front door, things change. And that's what we want to do with people coming to that school on the day. It's not a school, but it looks like one of those 1950s era utilitarian type schools that are everywhere. And the transformation, we hope, begins as they come in the front door, expecting to be in a kind of foyer area of a school, but they're going to be surprised.
Can I just add one thing, Michael? It's just come to me. When we were going through this transformational movement at the school district, one of the things that I knew in my heart is that people are deeply dissatisfied with the status quo of the education system, which, in my humble opinion, are we being recorded? I don't care. Often does more damage to kids than it does help, because of the way we define language and literature in hierarchy. We define intelligence in a hierarchical way. We enact leadership in a hierarchical way. And we say to some people, you're creative. And we say to others, you most determinedly are not creative. So I knew the people wanted hope. They wanted something better than that. And that was the driving force behind my own mission to do something different. Anyway, when we started this thing off, I thought I'd sort of like to take a bit of a lead role in gathering around these human stories, this human library. And I guess I'm surprised, because I never fail to be surprised, but I've got to give up getting surprised. I've now reached out to, I think it's 9 different organizations, and every one of them is desperate to be involved. Carleton University, I didn't know it. They have a social innovation hub. And when they found about this, absolutely, they're coming in. The University of Ottawa. We have St. Paul's University here with a similar social innovation hub. but we're also very careful. We do not want this to be associated with just academia. So we reach out to all manner of different groups which represent all facets of different society. But what gives me hope and continues to is that when you start talking this stuff through to people and say, this is what, and they'll say to you, you're doing what? You're bringing all of these people through just to have a conversation about creating a better world? Because it's not done that often. So I think what we as a collective here are doing is precisely that. And that's what makes this magical for me.
I think this is a very exciting example of the kinds of things that we want people all over the world to do.
Mm-hmm.
One more major point about world creativity and innovation is that we are made up. We have an international board of advisors. CNIC is on our board. I think there are 4 who take turns coming to the meetings. We have Denmark, we have South Africa, we have Costa Rica and Colombia, we have Indonesia and India. So we have people from all over the world that represent different places. Then we have a network of creativity ambassadors, people who are in their country to spread the word, to invite people to share with us the stories of the kinds of things that you are doing. I will show you on our current website, which is going to be retired next month, that when you, wow, the flags are gone. So I'm going to have to go to our celebrations here. That it seems to be.
This is why it's being retired.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
It's got a very monstrous load of celebrations, but the celebrations, as you can imagine, have been significantly virtual over the past several years. And one of the benefits of that, I'll come back once it if it loads. No, I won't. I'm going to show you what I wanted to show you anyway. That there is a register button that I hope is still working. Oh, it's not behaving. Where people all over the world register their celebrations, and I think we had more than 600 or 700 this past year, and we expect to get over 1,000 for the first time ever. And so celebrations are as small as schools putting on a small show. Mm-hmm. They are as large as every year in Finland, they do an international conference on creativity and education. They are as small as a festival in County Durham. Just want to give Peter a shout out for his homeland. And as large as a national celebration centered in Bogota, but it is the centerpiece of the Latin World Creativity and Innovation Week celebration, as far down to Chile, all the way up into Mexico, and celebrations all over, basically monitored by our international advisors, Camillo and Felix, who do such a great job within the community there. So our ambassadors are there to talk to in language about their communities and what are the kinds of things. We want celebrations. We want everybody to understand, again, not from an art, but in a thinking way. We call it second right answer creativity, because anytime that you do something a little bit different, consider a different way, no matter what it is, it's a creative act, and we need to empower people. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Roger Firestein. He has a story that is just spectacular that I invite you all to do the experiment by yourself. Next time you get on an airplane and you begin that uncomfortable conversation with the person sitting next to you, and they say, "What do you do?" Well, the way I've done it is the way Roger does it. Sometimes I say, "I teach creativity." And the answer almost invariably is, "Oh, I'm not creative." But when I say I teach innovation, they go, "We need more of that." So a lot of our problem is the misunderstanding of the word. And that is something that we are all need to fight. We all need to be aware that people see creativity essentially as art making. Oh, I can't sing, I can't dance, I can't draw, I can't paint. I'm not creative. But we certainly need innovation. We need things to be done differently and improvements made, and we're all for that. And they don't see that everything begins in the imagination. With all due respect and admiration for what goes on at Simon Fraser, and creativity, which is taught all over the world in wonderful ways, all the way to innovation, which without creativity, innovation doesn't happen. And without innovation, creativity is lacking. And so it's an entire pattern that we need to support.
And so we say amen, because I think all these groups on this agree with that ICI framework, the Imagination, Creativity, and Innovation framework. And across the globe, one of the people who had signed up for this, but unfortunately didn't make it, it was from Ethiopia. And he wasn't an arts teacher, he was a math professor in Ethiopia. And he has a real strong desire to reach out and talk to people who care about imagination and creativity. And we see it in the articles of interest for the NCN, where some of the people that respond to it in the social media world are from New Zealand, and so we think this is something we're only holding on to here. Well, you guys prove that that's not the case, and we feel that through these kinds of examples. And we were thinking maybe we'd take a moment and let Haley get in here and talk about the work that she's doing in this space.
Thank you, Haley.
Okay. Of course, I'm firing on all engines here, just hearing what you're saying, Jim, and everybody at NCN. I know we've been carrying this banner. Interestingly, as you were speaking of Marcy, I was going through my past emails. My email chains go back over 10 years, and I have email chains from Marcy and Wendy Liskow. And I think we spent a few weeks or maybe even months trying to connect, and the chain ends there. So I don't think that trail ever happened, unfortunately. So it's nice to hear all of this work. After all of the organizational things, I'm actually out in Vancouver, and I went a bit rogue. So I no longer work with like a rebel. I don't work with an organization or under the auspices of any functioning arts group, education group, nothing like that anymore. I've gone solo, and I like to think that I'm now working from the individual level, from the bottom up instead of the umbrella. So gosh, I don't know. I don't even know what else I can add to this, except I am working with individuals, and it would be interesting to see some way where individuals can plug into this. I heard you mention the celebrations of each size of the organizations or groups or collectives, but I'm wondering how us solo practitioners can join the fun.
Well, I think I would love to know a whole lot more about the Creative Code.
You've,
If
you've been,
I heard rumors that you cracked it.
well,
But we open the world to the solo practitioners. Michael Gelb, we all know Michael Gelb, How to Think Like Leonardo da Vinci, plans something very specific every year for World Creativity and Innovation Week. He does good to see you, Peter. Thank you for coming. I was, I think we were going to talk about the Wonderwall, but we'll stick with the Creative Code. Take care.
Thank you.
Michael Gelb does special programs, does special incentives during World Creativity and Innovation Week I think he presented at the international the festival down in Colombia for all of South Latin America. So you think it, you design it, and we'll share it with the world. I was able to finally get the thing to work that we have a registration form. There's a button on every page that has the register button on it. And basically you design what you want. And it goes on the website, and then we tell the world. And we tell the world on our website, but also through 5 different social media platforms. We promote, we make sure everybody knows when the next ones are coming up. And not only that, we get calls for who's out there and what do they want to do, and who can we connect with, and who can we invite. You were in the classroom for a long time. I won't say how many years because you're probably not that old. But we have educators who want to talk to people about their thoughts on education. We have solo practitioners, we have consultants, we have coaches who want to talk to people about how are you coaching for creativity. And so, as I said, our role, our goal is to tell the world about the world of creativity. Our goal is to make connections so that you can share the word.
I want to make a comment to Haley based upon what you said this evening. You should come to our event in April in Ottawa, Haley. It seems to be tailor-made for what you're interested in. That, of course, applies to everybody here, but I didn't know you before, Haley, and from what you said, it seems like you should be part of us in April in Ottawa.
well, thank you, Michael. I've been waiting for Peter to invite me for, I don't know, a dozen years now. And that invitation hasn't hit the mail yet. So I'll take you up on that one.
Yeah, I'll send Peter a nasty note on your behalf.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
But if there's any way that we can help to support the things that you do, I mean, that is our goal. We do not charge. We do not pick favorites. We are fully out for the mission itself because we think it's so important. So the more people that we can, my students this past week, interestingly, and I'm going to give this to all of you. We're trying to come up with ways to move the needle. It's kind of interesting, as amazing and as powerful as Sir Ken was, that what I hear from across the world was he was saying the right things. He was doing the right things. But everybody at the schools get excited about that, and then nothing happens. Because we have to do active shooter drills, and we have to do the state and city standards, and we have to, you know, all the things that are on the tests, and that there's just so many things. But I'm wondering if there's a way, because I think the way to become creative adults, I think we're going to have to start with changing what happens in the schools. And I think we need to empower the teachers. And if we can, and creativity, I think the problem with creativity in teachers is, number one, they don't know how to grade it. How do we rubric this thing? Because I don't really understand it. And, oh, I'm not creative. I'm so afraid that the students are more creative than I am. And the truth of the matter is they are. Those of us who teach creativity basically begin with that fact in mind. So we would like,
You know,
yeah.
Jim, that is, you're really singing my song now. Most of my career was as an elementary school principal, or at least half of it was in that role, and working to empower the teachers to really take charge of their own learning and change their own teaching, and to understand the power and potential that they had as creative individuals to create a different environment. And that led our group, a large group of us in Oklahoma, to look for some sources of models in school that embodied a framework for nurturing innovation, creativity, imagination in schools. So A+ Schools, which began in North Carolina, really just asked a question back in 1995 of what would happen in schools if you took the arts seriously, if you taught through the arts and you taught about the arts, would there be any differences? And there were, and yet at the same time, there is the draw of you have to get the test scores up. You must make sure that you're hitting all of those standards in every class. And so A+ Schools really became a vehicle for us as a school community to have a framework and create our own momentum around empowering teachers to be creative. I loved also what you said about the word itself and how problematic it can be when we talk about creativity alone, and the importance of really, especially I believe in schools, starting with our imagination, because everybody has that and can begin there. And there's a lot of good work that is still being done. Dan Hunter from Iowa has recently written another book. It's called Learning and Teaching Creativity, and it really talks about the role of imagination, and that imagination teaching can be taught to teachers. There are ways that we help engage our imaginations and understand if we're being imaginative or not. And so there are systems in place that can be a part of this conversation and help people have real tools and begin to address, the gaps in. There are ways to teach standards that are more creative and more imaginative than what is happening now, and they are well documented. So it is just a matter of the will to do so and to spread that opportunity in groups like this, like we've been doing really for years. And there are those pockets of success, which is what the National Creativity Network really tried to harness and recognize, is where are the hot spots of creativity across the globe, really. I think all of us have had probably wonderful opportunities internationally to understand that when you sit with someone and you ask them, what are the attributes that you want to have in a school for a child you love? Whether that's been in Meru, Kenya for me, or in Doha, Qatar, or in Norman, Oklahoma, public, private, charter, rich, poor, urban, suburban, rural, it is surprisingly uniform what people want for their children in schools. That is a powerful starting place and really can bring us together where, you know, we just unleash that desire to do better work and understand the role of creativity, innovation, imagination in that. Really, that's the engine that moves us forward. So I'm excited to hear about these opportunities for us to make deeper connections, broader connections, and more ongoing work so that, you know, the momentum doesn't stop when one of us stops, right? So
Absolutely.
I've enjoyed the time this evening very much. Appreciate it.
If there are any teachers who watch this this recording, I'm going to give my real quick plug for 2 easy things. Number 1, stop answering students' questions. From a very young age, when they come to the teacher and say, "What is?" If the answer were, "That's a great question, I'm wondering that too, will you find out and share it with me?" It will maintain the student's spirit of curiosity and the joy of knowing and the joy of learning. The second thing is to stop stigmatizing mistakes.
Right.
Students are so afraid of making mistakes. We have my students at the sophomore, junior level all get New Year's Eve poppers. And at the beginning of class, when we talk about things, and the students will say, "I made a huge mistake yesterday." And they'll explain it and what they learned from it, and then shoot off their poppers to great applause from the rest of the class. Students should not be afraid to make mistakes. They should know that that's how everybody learns. That's how creativity advances. And Phyllis, very quickly before we wrap up, I think Joyce Juntoon, last I saw her, is down in your neighborhood, and she was a wonderful help to a lot of the beginning of my creative journey. And I went down to Bryan, College Station, to spend a little time with her. So it was wonderful to hear her name come up again. Before we go, I want 30 seconds from North Dakota. How we doing?
North Dakota's good. I'm jazzed to be here and to be on like hearing all of the snippets and just like fires me up, and the excitement and the encouragement is just so fantastic. And to be honest, I didn't know, you know, my supervisor was like, "You should go." And I said, "Okay, cool." And here I am, and I'm jazzed and just soaking in everything. So thank you, all of you for sharing, and it's just been awesome to soak it all in. So thank you.
Celebrate your creativity and keep watching for us. I want to thank you all for joining. I hope we'll keep the conversation going. I would love to reconnect and have another conversation publicly early in the new year, and maybe even invite some additional organizations to join us so that we can continue to build the conversation. George, I will turn it back to you to say goodnight.
Well, imagination, creativity, and innovation is at the heart of everything we think about. And in celebration of the Arts Board's 50th anniversary, our poet laureate wrote a piece called Like the Wind to describe the creativity of the students in our state. And the wind is blowing across the globe, and we've learned about it from your organization, Jim, and from the groups that are working here, and know that there's a positive way forward. Even in a day and age where we can wake up every morning and be depressed by the news, the fact that there are people out there working for imagination, for creativity and innovation makes us get up and do it one more time. So thank you all for being here tonight, and we hope that this video will also inspire others who didn't have the opportunity to be here but may see it along the way. So again, thank you.
Take care.
Thank you, George. Thank
Bye,
you, everybody
everybody.
else. It's been absolutely amazing. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Good night, all.